The Situation Room with Wolf Blitzer, weekday afternoons at 5 Eastern on CNN.
Well, you know, for some time now, this paper, which came out in 1998, has been under a lot of scrutiny. In fact, it was, at one point, the science, the methods was questioned. It was subsequently retracted earlier last year in 2010. Now they're saying it wasn't just that this was shoddy science. They're saying this was deliberately misleading people based on falsifying facts, creating dates, for example, that simply didn't exist. Let me give you a couple of examples, Wolf. The paper is about vaccines and their connection with autism. And specifically what they were saying in the paper was that a child would get a vaccine shot and then within a few days start to develop symptoms that were symptoms of autism. When they went back and looked at the dates that the child actually had symptoms, sometimes it was before the vaccine was ever given, sometimes it was in fact months after the vaccine was given. So it was just falsified data to try and draw this association between this vaccine and autism. And now they're saying, again, not just shoddy science, but downright falsified data.
All right, so what we're talking about is the so-called Wakefield study that dealt with a connection supposedly between a vaccine for measles, mumps, and rubella and the impact of that vaccine on young kids developing autism. But that study was always controversial. But right now, am I hearing this new study saying that the original study simply made up these numbers?
Yeah, it's hard to believe, Wolf, but that's exactly what they're saying. In fact, the language was even stronger than that, calling this one of the greatest scientific hoaxes that we've seen. Really very strong language in a very controversial area. Again, the paper, there were originally several authors on the paper. Most of those authors actually took their names off this paper over the last several years. And again, this paper was retracted back in February of 2010. But at that time, it was retracted because the thought was, well, the methods were not ethical. The children were paid, for example, to give blood. There wasn't a random study. It was specific children were picked for the study. Now they're saying this was actually falsified data.
Wow.
Obviously a big charge, but it's based on a very long investigation, a 6 million word investigation, looking through all these patients' histories, looking at what happened in the hospitals and trying to reconcile
So
it.
all these parents out there who decided not to give this vaccine to their little kids because they were afraid the kids could develop autism, they didn't give the vaccine. What do they do now? How potentially in danger are these kids?
Well, not getting vaccinated. I mean, you can look at England, for example, where this paper was published, where Dr. Wakefield originally did his work. They did see a decline in vaccination rates after the papers were published back in 1998, and you saw an uptick in diseases, preventable diseases at that time. In the United States, you saw some of that as well, not to the extent in England, but you had pockets of children who were not vaccinated and subsequently did develop diseases. What I will tell you is this, Wolf. Again, what's happened today, I think, is quite shocking in the scientific world. But keep in mind that this data, Wakefield's papers, had been discredited and questioned and scrutinized for a long time. And I don't think it really quelled or changed people who were concerned about vaccines. It didn't change their opinion. So I don't know how much what's happening today will change their opinion either. I think that they'll keep saying, well, what exactly causes autism? Can you tell me the answer to that question? And science can't right now. So I think there's still going to be a lot of question marks. But I think with regard to vaccines and autism, this is a significant development.